be launching a tasty pastry. It's a low-carb Pop-Tart. It's got 3 to 4 grams of net carbs, and we love this show. This is our best place to be in LA.
Welcome back to Legendary Foods Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, and today is Tuesday, April 26th, 2022. And let's find out what's going on in the world of bodybuilding and fitness. For the most part, it's been a pretty quiet year so far in the 212 division. But then again, it's still early, and the division hasn't had a chance to get the full force of what Derek Ostlund's been cooking up yet. Last week, Derek's camp released this update that caught our attention because this looks a lot like the Derek we saw back in 2020 when he closed out the season as a top 10 Olympia finisher. If you go back and look at the way he progressed over the last 3 years and compare it to where he is today, one of the things that really stands out is the way that he's consistently managed to add 1 or 2 new weapons to his arsenal during every offseason. So if he solved the conditioning issue that slowed him down last year, it shouldn't come as a huge surprise if he ends up back on the Olympia stage competing for a top 5. We have one more note for the 212 coming at you today, only this time it's courtesy of Keon Pearson, after he announced that he was planning to make his season debut at the Texas Pro later this summer. Anyone who's seen the clips that we've shown on Keon's guest posing appearance over the last few weeks knows that right now, this is far and away the best version of him that we've ever seen. Whether we're talking about the size, the shape, the conditioning, whatever it is, all the way across the board, the 2022 version of Keon blows everything else that he's ever done to this point out of the water. So unless something crazy happens between now and then, they should go ahead and start penciling his name in at the top line, because it's hard to imagine a scenario where anyone knocks him off that first place slot. Now, in addition to Keon's announcement about competing in the Texas Pro, his partner in crime, Martin Fitzwater, also decided that he was ready to throw his name into the mix there too. One of the interesting things about his decision to jump into Texas is that it's actually the show he made his pro debut in last year. And even though he was still figuring things out at that point, the fact that he managed to place 4th in a lineup that included someone who went on to place top 10 at the Olympia a few months later should tell you something about where he is at this point in his career. And when you add to the fact that he just put together the most productive offseason that he's had in years, you can start to see how the pieces start to line up for him to have a breakout performance there. Because he can find a way to bump himself up another spot or two and legitimately be in contention for a win, I think it might set the stage for him to do some big things as he heads into the heart of the contest season. A few weeks ago, we did a segment on Nathan De Asha after he was given the green light by his doctors to start training again after fully recovering from surgery for torn bicep. And even though we still haven't gotten a timetable for his return quite yet, it looks like we're getting closer. A few days ago, Nathan released this update and called it the start of a new chapter, which you can choose to interpret as a positive sign if you fall into that group of fans that's still holding out hope for him to compete at least once before the Olympia. Nathan put together such a strong post-Olympia run last season that it made him one of the early favorites heading into this year's Arnold. And then obviously the whole injury thing happened, which derailed that train before it even got started. But if he can manage to get himself to the point where he's ready to go again at some point within the next few months, watch out, because he's one of the few athletes we have who has the potential to be a real disruptor. And that does it for yet another edition of Muscle in the Morning. I'm Dave Palumbo, reminding you to always be true to your passions, and make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.